nature, things of that 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 nature.
All right, welcome into the Pot of That Nature Transfer Portal Edition. I'm John Neighbors alongside Andrew Ellis. As you know, if we're going live, you see that notification popped up. That means Arkansas added themselves another player. And this time, Andrew, the tight end position, me and Curtis just yesterday did one for adding into the tight end. And they added another one, this time with a JUCO player in Jeremiah Beck, who happens to be 6'3", 245, initially signed with Nevada, but decided to call the Razorbacks his home, and he's going to have 3 years left to play 2 seasons. So the tight end room with Morgan Turner and Sam Pittman gets a little bit bigger and a little bit closer to getting all the players that they lost from this past offseason in the tight end room.
Yeah, John, I feel like 3 streams ago, we were doing a portal commit thing, and I was like, all right, this will probably be the last one before the spring period. We hope y'all enjoy these. We'll see you in April. And then they just keep adding one last guy. It's almost like they're trying to get one last guy in there before we really can just let our hair down and wait till spring ball to talk about portal stuff. But regardless, John, you mentioned it there, JUCO tight end Jeremiah Beck. Whether it's a move you like or whether it's a move you love, if you think the guy's great, if you think he stinks, it's a move Arkansas needed to make because Arkansas just needed bodies in the tight end room. I mean, with Lucas transferring, with Varkey's Gums leaving the team midseason, with Ty Washington transferring to Notre Dame, Arkansas literally just didn't have anybody other than Maddox Lassiter. A shout out to Andreas Poski for holding it down in the bowl game. And then they moved Shamar Easter to receiver as well. So we knew, regardless of what kind of pieces they were going to bring in, they just needed pieces at tight end. And so you get Rohan Jones yesterday. That's a cool name and a cool move. You get a guy in Jeremiah Beck who had 485 yards and 4 touchdowns this year. Sign me up, John.
Yeah, I mean, that's where, last year we know what you had with the wide receiver room, and we felt like Lucas was amazing. Obviously, he's a great tight end. And then you had a Ty Washington who showed signs of being a really good tight end, and especially in the receiving side of things. Varkey's Gums just never really translated into what people were hopeful for when he transferred from North Texas. He was one of the big-time transfers they got, and this really didn't go the direction that people were hoping for. And so now you lost all of them. I mean, you have Andreas Poski coming back. So, there's that. But you needed some tight ends. And I was going to be curious because when they added in Platt from Texas A&M, everyone knew he's kind of a blocking tight end. And I know me and Kurtz talked a little bit about it, but that's the fascinating thing is because both of these guys, at least from yesterday with Rohan and today, these are more of the receiving tight ends. And they didn't do much in the receiving tight end side of things last year. So are they going to do it differently this year? Do they just like these particular tight ends more so in the passing game? I don't really know, but I think that's what's going to be many things that you're going to be watching in the spring. One of the fascinating things is going to be okay, so you have these new tight ends, 2 of them being especially ones out of the transfer portal that are receiving tight ends. Are you going to utilize them? Are you going to target them? Or are they just literally filling scholarships and filling bodies and they're just going to be there in case you need them on occasion?
Yeah, you mentioned Platt and his weight because that's something that my mind gravitated to as well. Because I'm looking, his bio last year for Beck lists him at 6'4", 240. So not a small guy by any means, but more of a route running type of guy, not like a lead blocker type of person you're expecting. So Platt, it is going to be interesting because what is he, like 260? He's a big dude and he looks the part. So I wonder who's going to end up being kind of the designated lead blocker there. You mentioned that Jones is more of a receiver. Beck seems to be more of a receiver as well. And it also is going to be interesting. I mean, we saw Maddox Lassiter, the all-world, all-defender Ironman football champion. We saw him play a lot of fullback last year, and he was a guy that I guess he came in as a tight end, technically listed as a tight end. Will we see him at all in this discussion, or will we see them use some of these other guys kind of creatively like that? Maybe a fullback, maybe you have a tight end, maybe you go 2 tight end, maybe you have like an H-back type of guy. We've seen different offenses do that in the past. In college football these days, you just never know. Hell, the Baltimore Ravens have been using Mark Andrews as their QB sneak guy, their tush push guy. So, hell, maybe that's what Jaden Platt ends up doing if it doesn't work out at tight end. But ultimately, it's just going to be interesting. I mean, these are pieces that, not a huge hot commodities that had a ton of crazy offers, but it seems like they've got some guys, some different skill sets. You get one guy from the FCS ranks, one guy from the JUCO ranks, and one guy from Texas A&M. So it's like you're just going to have to see what they can do with these skill sets. And you mentioned how Arkansas didn't use the tight ends a ton in the pass game last year. I think that's what kind of freed them up to just kind of go get some guys and figure out the rest later.
Yeah, they're going to have to, I'm sure, with these particular players. I mean, this guy didn't have a lot of big time offers, so it's not. I don't really refer to him as much as that. But like Rohan Jones, for instance, someone like him, he had some pretty good offers, and he's a receiving tight end. Well, if you're someone who's trying to go and play and get some numbers and get ready for the next level and hopefully get to the next level, I'm wondering what the selling point was for Arkansas and Morgan Turner and Bobby Petrino being like, hey, I know that we did not feature Luke Has last year very much, but you, my friend, you are going to be featured. So that's something I'm hoping that they sold him and they're actually going to do it. Like maybe because of whether it's the wide receivers or with Talon or something they're going to be working on. I don't know, but it makes me wonder if the offense in general is going to be changing, not hugely and significantly, but just changing in a way than what we saw last year, where it wasn't just, hey, let's just throw it to Andrew Armstrong as much as possible. Will there be more of a balanced attack of getting the wide receivers, getting the tight ends, getting the running backs involved and all of that? Because, is this a better tight end room than what it was a year ago? It's hard to lean towards yes, but maybe that's something that they're going to try to work towards and making the tight end room a little bit more featured in the passing game itself.
Whether or not that's actually going to be a thing that happens, I'm sure it had to be some type of selling point or some type of idea of, oh, yeah, we've got this certain plan, we'll use you. But yeah, you mentioned what would be the selling point. I mean, looking at Jeremiah Beck's offer list, I see Eastern Kentucky, Gardner-Webb, Massachusetts, and Missouri State. And so I think when Arkansas came to Colin, which according to 24/7, Arkansas offered him on Saturday, on January 11th, and he commits on January 13th. I think for him, it was as simple as, hell, do I go to Eastern Kentucky or do I go to the SEC school where I'm going to be at worst tight end 3, and maybe I can beat out this other guy and I can be tight end 2 in a Bobby Petrino offense. Maybe that's what I'll do. And so I think for those guys, I mean, look, you're getting guys that you're betting on, I guess, lesser known commodities, particularly with Beck, and you're going to give them a chance to play in the SEC. It's like, I could think of worse deals for a guy who, is coming, who, I mean, you saw the offer list. I mean, it's, I think it's a pretty good gig for him, honestly.
Yeah, I do too. And that gives Arkansas around 20 now additions from the transfer portal. And I think it's just 19 with the scholarships, because for some reason, AJ Green, we don't get you a scholarship. You don't get one. But everybody else does. So yeah, I'm not going to sit here and try to pretend and try to fake that this is some huge signing or anything like that on paper, but he could be a guy that could help you out. I know if you're watching us, you can see a picture of him right there. He looks like a junior college tight end. I will say that he looks the part of a junior college tight end. Really long hair. Maybe he's got a little swagger to him and everything, but yeah, he's the latest addition there. And I'm not even going to think. I'm just going to assume, Andrew, that every day there's going to be a new player added until they're not, because it's just nonstop. It seems like just nonstop that they keep adding guys. But
yeah,
we'll see. Let's get to the chat and see what people have to say or have to ask about this guy in particular and everything. So Heartbroken Hog wants to know, how many tight ends do we have now? I believe 5?
4 or 5. Because I mean, you've got the Gavin Garrettson guy who's a defensive end in high school. He's moving over to play tight end. Does Maddox Lassiter count?
I think he does. I think you count him because it's like, I think he's listed as a tight end, I think, technically.
Right. So you've got Maddox Lassiter, you've got Platt, and you've got Rohan Jones.
Yeah.
And then now you've got Jeremiah Beck. So that'd be 5 if you're counting
6, because then Andreas Poski can come back, right?
Is he back though? Oh, I guess he has the option. Or wait, does he?
I thought he had an option.
Guy.
Okay. I mean, I can double check. I thought he had the option. I thought that's what we talked about yesterday, but maybe not. Well, I'll double check. But either way, they have at least 5 tight ends, possibly 6.
They have bodies. They have at least enough to go through the drills.
Yes, exactly. Walker says, "Dude, kind of rocking Andrew's flow." Yeah, there's some hair there. Yeah, there's some hair there. So he also says, this is a great point too, and it's something very obvious. So is he technically a true freshman since the JUCO ruling? That is a great point.
2 years at the JUCO level, and we're determining that like those just like don't count.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally going to be where if you go from JUCO to college, major college football, it's almost like a prep league, or like going to high school. You just get all you want to play. It's like a completely different world.
So I mean, hey, yeah, pretty much a true freshman. That's another aspect of this where it's like, yeah, maybe he doesn't immediately start catching passes, but it's like, you just take a swing on him.
Yeah, might as well at this point. Let's see. Also, Addison says, I read he's joining as a preferred walk-on. Any truth to that? At least from what I read.
I didn't think that was the case. It just based on the vibes I was getting, but especially since they like offered him a couple days ago, and like normally people don't report walk-on offers typically. I mean, who knows? I mean, some people do, but I don't know. I mean, we'll see. If so, then I mean, it makes even more sense. But I think they need at least. I mean, because they need just scholarship tight ends.
Yes.
Yeah. It's not like there's a ton of tight ends taking up those schollies right now.
No, not at all. By the way, I just looked it up for Andreas Boski real quick. So in 21, and he was a freshman at Eastern Michigan. That was his first year, and he did not see game action. So I guess he's technically redshirt. So he does essentially and technically have this upcoming year because he's technically a redshirt player. So if he decides to come back, which I'm assuming he is, because I haven't heard anything one way or the other. Also, Grant wants to know about Shamar Easter, not Shamari, but Shamar Easter.
Well, last we heard, he was moving to wide receiver, and he was a guy that got some praise from Sam Pittman in that bowl press conference. At least that's what we heard, was that he was moving to receiver leading up to the bowl. Maybe they'll change their mind. Maybe he'll go back, and he again would kind of qualify as more of a receiver, clearly, since they're thinking of moving him to wide receiver. So again, it kind of leads to the question of like, where do all these guys fit in? You might have a little bit of the same skill sets, but last we heard, Shamar Easter was going to move to wide receiver, and Pittman sounded more excited about him then than he did when he was asked about him a couple months ago and was like, far away from contributing. So I think Shamar Easter, that's the move for him. So he does not count in the tight end total.
Yeah, I forgot about Pittman taking that I forgot which game it was leading into it, but he was asked about Shamar Easter, and he goes, basically, yeah, he ain't even a thing. Like, he's not even playing. He's not,
that was like on the SEC coaches teleconference, which like I always kind of hate when they do those things because it was always the worst questions. But yeah, someone was like, what about with Shamar Easter? And he was like, nah.
No, not even worth a mention. A few more here, folks, before we get out of here. Also, Josh says, will Isaac TeSlaa be back? No.
No.
He's not coming back.
The last memory we will have will be his cool celebration in the Liberty Bowl.
And it was cool. Count. And it didn't even count. So
yeah, what a way to go out.
It sums up his career, scoring a touchdown with a great celebration that didn't even count. So, yes. And also, before we wrap up here, shout out to Blake, as he also said, finish up my bombastic podcast. Just time for the Portal Pop. Good stuff when traveling for work. Almost my 10-hour drive today has been with you fellas. Jeez, Blake.
Wow. Where are you? 10-hour drive. That's a tough one, but appreciate you tapping in with the bombastic. Everyone who's listening to this, as soon as you're done with this, which will be in like 2 minutes, bombastic podcast, it is mandatory listen.
Yeah. And I wouldn't even say 2 minutes. It's less than 2 minutes because I think we're done here and talking about the latest. So, but that'll do it for us here on Inside Arkansas. Be sure to subscribe to us, as anytime a transfer portal pops, we're going to pop and we're going to go live and talking about it, regardless of who it is and regardless of who they are. We're going to make it happen, but Arkansas adds JUCO tight end Jeremy Beck to the roster. So for Andrew Ellis, I'm John Neighbors, same sports show, same sports channel. Whenever we see you next, have a great rest of your night, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.